Hello Taurus, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for July for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you the main strands to look out for. Please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in detail all the key influences and dates in regards to your sign. Now, as you come into this month, the Sun is in house 3. This is all to do with everyday communications and can be a very pacey time of the year. But the new moon, which occurred on the 29th of June, was linking to Jupiter, the planet of growth. But that's tucked away at this present time as this month begins in your 12th house. And also Mars in that location is in a right angle with Pluto right at the start of this month. So I think there's a psychological dimension to some of the communications you may need to go through. Perhaps it's being more in touch with some of your hidden desires or needs. But once Mars moves into your sign on the 5th, that's really going to help to bring you into the moment in a very positive way. And also Mercury moves on the same day into Cancer, not its best transit in terms of the element. The water of Cancer can be difficult for Mercury to navigate, but for you the following 2 weeks can be a time when your mind starts to work that much more speedier, and that can be an asset for you. However, right in the heart of this month we do have a full moon in Capricorn, your sister earth sign. But as the Sun moves forward, it then goes into opposition with Pluto, followed by Mercury. A battle of wills or a disagreement over a point of principle, therefore, is possible at the core of this month. Later in the month, as the Sun arrives in Leo, where you live, how you live there, and whom with becomes the burning question. But Mars combines with Uranus in your sign for the last 4 days. You could surprise yourself across those days by being much more radical in your approach, doing something that really sees you being more daring or asserting your individuality or independence in a more forceful way. Now that's just a little bit of a flavour. I need to tell you a lot more about the role of your ruler Venus, so please stay with me for that. Now, if you'd like to know more about more serious astrology and how that can impact on you above this zodiac broadcast, if you give me 3 pieces of your personal information of time, date and place of birth, I can provide you with a roadmap that you can use for the rest of your life. Also, in my special package of 30% off, you can also get a 12-month personal horoscope forecast. No two charts are the same, totally unique to you. Please see the link beneath for more. Now I'm nearly there at that 100,000 subs. Thank you so much if you already have subscribed. If you haven't, I'd be honoured if you did so now. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol, but please see the link beneath this video. So Taurus, your monthly forecast for July begins with the energy from that glorious new moon which occurred on the 29th of June in your sector of everyday communications. The 3rd house is a splendid area. It's sparkly, it's vivacious, it's quick-witted, and it's exciting. It's moving along at some pace. Now Jupiter, the planet of growth, was interacting with that new moon, but Jupiter is in your 12th house as this month begins and as it ends. So the 12th house is more to do with our higher spiritual philosophies. It's more Jupiter's rulership of the sign of Pisces. So I think what the Jupiter square with the new moon and the energy that this is manifesting as you come into this month is asking you to say what you mean and mean what you say. So be guided by sincerity, because I think there are going to be some moments this month when you could find yourself in a little bit of a charged debate where someone sees something very different to you. You may even have a bit of an inner tussle with yourself about what to do about a particular situation. The 3rd house is our everyday world. So that's, the usual discussions, phone calls, text messages, sharing memes, going on Facebook, using technology. The third house can be to do with short bursts of physical energy. So that's all very uplifting, but that position of Jupiter is just asking you to be in touch with the more feeling and sensory part of your communications. Now, also Mars is in that location as this month begins. If you think back right through to the latter part of May, and just as you're coming into this month, your moods may have been a little up and down. This is because Mars moving through the 12th house is one of its most complex journeys in its annual passages. And so as it moves into your sign on the 5th, that's really going to be something that you're going to appreciate because it brings you into the present. But it is in a tense tussle with Pluto in the first 3 or 4 days of this month. If that rings a bell, it's because that aspect was shaping up at the end of June. Now, Pluto's in your sector of higher truths, and Pluto can sometimes disguise the truth because it's a planet which is very much to do with strategy and power. But the angle with Pluto and Mars could see something that you would rather see kept confidential or very much to yourself. It could explode into the open, and it may be a point of principle which is at stake. And Pluto is going to play a bigger role as the month evolves. But just be aware that if there is a sense of injustice about something that's been bubbling away within you, and it may relate to something that's actually very much to do with the past, but it may be still very active within your emotions. So that could come up at the start of this month. And because the sun is in the part of your situation where you want to say how you think, the third house, that deep energy of Jupiter in terms of the spiritual dimension, but the anger of Mars in the 12th house and the relationship of Mars to Pluto could mean that you could blurt something out or choose to reveal something that up until now you've kept very much to your chest. So a delicate time. However, we can't deny the fact that Venus, your ruler, is in a magical location as this month begins in terms of your resources. Now, I don't say this lightly because obviously we're going through some big changes in terms of costs, but I feel that once Mercury returned to the sign of Gemini on the 13th of June, you've had an opportunity since then to patiently work at reshaping an idea that was important to you that didn't quite go in the way you expected, perhaps towards the end of April and the early parts of May. Now, that you can gain traction at the start of this month, and once Mars moves into your sign on the 5th, this is going to give you a lot of velocity to move forwards. And also Mercury on the same day ingresses into the sign of Cancer. In technical astrology, Mercury going through Cancer is not at its best because Mercury depends a lot on clarity and precision. But the wateriness of Cancer for you in the third house just means that you can use its sensory energies, the sign of Cancer, to tune into the way you communicate your ideas with great deftness. So that's something that you can definitely use to your advantage. However, in week 2, the Sun in Cancer, your third house, forges an ace angle to Uranus in your sign. Now, you have a reputation of being someone who enjoys familiarity and continuity. You're a fixed sign, so that's logical. But this particular aspect is asking you to be very alert to new and different opportunities and to have the confidence to react to them quickly should they come up. So in other words, not be too hidebound. But I mentioned before, perhaps one of the challenges you could have this month is not necessarily in your discussions with others, it's more your inner relationship. And the full moon on the 13th in your sister Earth sign of Capricorn is a point in case. Now that full moon forges a semi-sextile with Saturn, but Saturn in the part of your scope to do with your worldly responsibilities in your work that actually is in a quincunx with the position of the sun on the other side of the heavens. So I think it's possible that a conversation or a debate around your work may be something you do need to look at the heart of this month. And if someone's encouraging you to retrain or to reskill or to add to your knowledge in some kind of way through the prism of that sun trine with Uranus, sun sextile with Uranus, I should say, I really would be open to the potential. Now, from the 17th to the 22nd, Pluto is activated again, but this time in the opposition to Sun. If you're really reluctant to adopt new ways of approaching things, your stubbornness could cause quite a lot of external pressure to head in your direction. But if you do need to diffuse this, charm will take you far. And on the 18th, your ruler moves out of that glorious transit through the second house and into the sign of Cancer. So a great time to perhaps get together with neighbours or siblings in terms of some kind of gathering, but also Venus will help you to modulate your expression with a great deal of harmony. So if you do need to soften a message in order to get someone to be a bit more receptive to what you have to say, Venus will help. But with Pluto and Mercury also in an opposition from the 17th to the 19th, you might have some serious debates going on. And part of it may be because you would prefer to stay with what you know, or ironically, you may be completely open to a change and someone close to you may prefer to stick to what they know. So some kind of push-pull is possible at the heart of this month. Now, the 19th sees Mercury move into Leo. Whoosh, really quick, yeah? So a 2-week transit through the sign of Cancer, unusual, usually takes 21 days. And moving into the sign of Leo for you can see you thinking, Mercury, thoughts about where to live, how to live there, and whom with. It's joined by the Sun moving into its home zone of Leo on the 22nd. So the Sun loves being in Leo. It's very much to do with radiance. For you, this is where you want to feel safe but joyful, particularly around family activities. So if there is an opportunity to have a gathering, I think you're going to want to make this happen in the last third of this month. Now, there is a new moon in Leo towards the end of this month, and it forges a very positive angle to Jupiter, which potentially caused a bit of mischief in that square to the Cancer new moon at the end of last month and at the start of this month. But Jupiter's just about to go into a retrograde, and it is, during its retrograde, going to ask you to dive deep, to understand more about the more philosophical, psychological and spiritual elements of your life. But in this particular new moon, I think some kind of past energy or skill or knowledge or even an evocative memory could see you very nostalgic in the month past. You could even get together with people that you haven't seen for a very long time, perhaps due to COVID. Perhaps it's much more historical than that. You know, a connection to people from your childhood who you went to school with, or technical college or university. Now, the last 5 days of this month see a very dramatic conjunction between Mars in your sign and that very energetic, electric, but changeable influence of Uranus, which has been having such an impact on you since March the 9th, full time in your sign, March the 9th, 2019. I apologise. So, that could be a very restless influence. And if you're in a relationship that you feel really bored with, or a job that's not very fulfilling, or you're finding you've got a lot of excess nervous energy but you don't really know what to do about it, what Mars and Uranus are pushing you to do is something dramatic. But because of that love of continuity you have, you can be resistant to that. But the more you resist change, the more it may get pushed upon you in a way that you don't necessarily feel that you're controlling. And part of that comes from the philosophy of Pluto being in your 9th house. The more we work with Pluto, the better the outcome. The more we resist it, the more it imposes things on us that we really don't want. So I think you have an opportunity here to be, really much more devil may care to break out of any safe routine. Even if you've got a particular daily pattern that you find very comforting, why not change it up, see how it feels? You can always go back to the one that has been your preference in the past, but being open to the fresh and the new is a big part of this month, and I think a big part of the discussions that you're going to have. And whether it's you trying to encourage someone else to be more open-minded, or them asking you to engage with different approaches, different holiday destinations, different interests, different foods, the more that you can be open to these stimulating vibes, the more that you're going to gain this month. The more you resist, the more stress and strain it can create. But there is no doubt, as the month draws to a close, there will be some moments where you do really appreciate the safety, comfort and tranquility of your home, or the people who bring the most amount of security to your existence.